Hi everyone, I'm Marco from Spirit21 and I want to give you some insights into our journey to stability with Graylog. But first of all, let me quickly introduce myself. I am a CISSP, CCSP and certified expert for IT security, and I work as Information Security Officer and Technical Lead IT Security for Spirit21, where I've been working for over 12 years now. Spirit21 is an IT service provider based in Böbling, Germany, with locations in Germany, Austria and Switzerland. We offer various services such as SAP services, cloud transformation and consulting services, as well as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service and fully managed services on-premise or in the cloud. That's enough advertising for today. I'm here to give you an insight on why we migrated from Tenable LCE to Graylog solutions and how we did it. In addition, I will give you some insight of what we already done with our Graylog platform and what we plan to realize in the next few months. So let's start with our journey. You need to know that we manage a quite complex infrastructure which is really heterogeneous. This is because every customer has its own environment with their own specific requirements. We don't only need to manage these environments, but also our own environments to be able to offer, for example, security and backup services, and to be able to automate as much as possible, but without losing our flexibility. We also need to fulfill various compliance requirements to maintain our ISO 27001 and TISAX certifications, as well as the regulatory requirements we need to fulfill, for example, the NIS2 directive. As if this wasn't enough, we have some self-imposed requirements we want to fulfill where it makes sense. These are based on the so-called BSI IT Grundschutz, the NIST cybersecurity framework, and at the more technical side on the CISA benchmarks, just to name a few. We used Tenable LCE as our central logging solution before. This solution worked great for us. Tenable did a quite good job, to be honest. But at some point, Tenable announced the end of sales in 2022. We had a support contract until February 24, but we were not allowed to extend it. And to be honest, we didn't want to because EOS limited its development to the bare essentials. In addition, a new version of the ISO 27001 has been published, where the requirements for logging had been extended. To summarize, it now says that we do need to analyze the logs deeper than we would be able to do with LCE. And that was the point where our journey began. After checking several solutions that might become our new logging solution, we finally decided to do a proof of concept with Graylog Enterprise. And before you ask, yes, we were a little late and already had some pressure on the project. This had, well, reasons. But some of my colleagues and me at some point had already worked with Graylog Open before, and we were confident that it would be the right solution for us. That said, we made our first contact with the Graylog team at some point in November 23, had a really good call about what we want to do and what we need to do, and received our proof of concept license almost instantly. And in the meantime, we already started building the servers we needed. We placed the servers into our production environment because we wanted to do the proof of concept with real-life logs and with a full range of the log types we have. We also wanted to gain more experiences with a cluster architecture that is recommended by Graylog for a cluster with 200 GB per day, so we just followed these architecture recommendations. Here you can see the simple architecture. Our Tenable LCE server still received and stored all logs, but also forwarded them to the Graylog cluster. LCE forwarded these in this log format, no matter what format it received them in. This somehow led to some malformed logs, but to our surprise, Graylog was able to handle these logs too. Before the POC, we already compared the features of some solutions we were able to find on the market. After doing the POC, we checked whether or not Graylog fulfills our requirements. And with no surprise, Graylog more than fulfilled them. The features that Graylog Enterprise gives us also fit best for our environment, as we are able to grow as needed. Graylog didn't work for us as an out-of-the-box solution, but we didn't need to have a big team that needs to work on the Graylog cluster quite long to give us the required results. In fact, we already did most of the lookups, pipelines, alerts, dashboards, and so on while in the POC phase, so we were almost ready to go into production at the end of the POC. All of these factors led us to our decision to work with Graylog. Our schedule was quite tight, as we only had around 2 months to do the migration. We already knew that we would still be able to access older logs with Tenable LCE after the support contract has ended. That meant that we did not need to migrate the logs from Tenable LCE to Graylog at all. We simply had to start the LCE machines again if we needed to access those logs. As we already had all logs from Tenable LCE being sent to Graylog in the POC phase and didn't stop to do so after that ended, we already had covered a lot of our retention period. In addition, it was quite helpful to build the POC as a production-ready cluster, so there was no need to add servers to Graylog or OpenSearch. There weren't that many tasks to complete in order to replace Tenable LCE with Graylog. After receiving the license, we had to build the missing parts on the infrastructure side, which was mainly a load balancer VIP that checks the status of the Graylog cluster nodes and of course forwards the events to the cluster. On the server side, we used the Tenable LCE agents to get all logs we need. We had to replace these with Graylog sidecars and of course do some configuration tasks before. I will not go into detail with this because the replacement was an easy task with automation. Just an installation of the sidecars, check if it does its job, and uninstall the LCE agent if this was the case. We didn't face any further problems. We didn't want to reconfigure all network and storage devices to use a new IP for logging, which seemed to be a challenge at first. But after having a closer look, we just had to stop the Tenable LCE appliances, reconfigure the LCE appliances to use new IP addresses, and configure the load balancer VIP to use the IP addresses of the LCE appliances. This was done in a time period of less than 10 minutes, which means that we didn't lose logs, as all devices were able to store the logs for that short period. We also reconfigured the Graylog sidecars to use the new old IPs. All of our tests ran without any issues. We certainly had to optimize some dashboards and so on, but we had all logs and everything was running smoothly. At least that's what we thought. Sometime around the middle of April, we noticed that we are far beyond the traffic limit of our license. This happened from one day to another, and after that we continuously received the same amount of traffic. We definitely had to investigate what happened. Just to have said it, nobody is perfect, and neither are we. After investigating, we quickly found out that the network devices caused the higher amount of traffic. And after having a call with the team trying to figure out what might be causing the issues, we quickly identified the issue. Some of our network devices, such as our central firewalls, logged to an own solution, mainly to avoid performance issues with Tenable LCE, but also to avoid licensing issues that could have occurred. Of course, the security team knew about the software solution, but the team wasn't responsible for it. So it forgot about that solution somehow. We needed to expand the existing enterprise license from 200 to 500 gigs per day. After doing some math, we recognized the advantages. No two solutions for logging means that we would reduce the administrative effort, and the license costs would also be lower after doing so. The network team also wasn't happy with the solution they used before and already knew what Graylog is able to do with their data, which led to the decision to use Graylog instead. We also had a deeper look at Graylog security. Besides the well-known additional features like anomaly detection and using signal routes, we also found the asset management, which was quite interesting for us. I will explain later why. But overall, we had the idea to use Graylog as a central security platform in the future instead of a log analysis solution. Nothing is as persistent as workarounds. but we actually found a temporary workaround for the firewall logs while having internal discussions as well as talks with Graylog whether or not we not only expand the enterprise license but also switch to security. This process took some time, but finally we decided to go with Graylog Security. After receiving the license, the network team reconfigured all devices and now we are able to send all logs, and really all logs, to our Graylog cluster. In addition, while discussing the license stuff, we also told our contact persons from Graylog what we want to do with Graylog and how we want to do this. All of this led to the question whether or not we plan to partner with Graylog. This question answered itself relatively quickly, as Graylog had already proven to be a tool that we want to offer our customers. Let's talk about our plan to establish Graylog as our central security platform. Some of the tasks I will be mentioning are already done, some are not. In addition, the tasks we already identified are only the tip of the iceberg. There definitely is more to come. The basic idea is to not only have logs, but instead also see all security-related stuff in Graylog. You might think of a threat intelligence platform at first, but we want to do even more. Here you can see the big picture of the components that we want to integrate. The green components are already integrated, the yellow ones are currently in development, and the red ones are planned. And in one case, we still need to clarify if this is even possible right now. We want to collect data from different internal and external sources, sort and process them, and then make them visible in dashboards that show this information in a way the target group needs them. For example, an SOC analyst needs detailed technical information to be able to do threat hunting. The CISO just needs information if everything is fine or if there are security-related issues or risks he has to look at. If we enrich the data of our vulnerability management solution with even more information like an actual EPSS score, detailed vulnerability information from NIST, the type of system, which might also mean if it's internet-facing or not, and internal data which protection goal might be rated as highly relevant for each internal asset, we are able to calculate an individual risk score for each asset. To do so, the asset database included in the security license is quite helpful, because we can not only import the relevant information from our CMDB, but also enrich this data with a calculated score and so on. There are even more possibilities to evaluate the data. A mapping of the known vulnerabilities with a MITRE ATT&CK framework might give us the possibility to see which attack techniques are relevant in the environment, so we are able to find countermeasures against them. Mapping the results of IOC scans, AV events, and the results of a breach database with a specific username could give us even more possibilities to discover an attacker in our network. These are just two more examples of what we plan to implement in the future, but it shows us that using Graylog was the right decision for us. Thanks for listening. If you wish to learn more about Spirit21 or our project together with Graylog, you can scan the code that's visible on the screen right now. That's enough from me, and now I hope you can enjoy more exciting talks. Goodbye.